just it's very different because I think video games are kind of a mainstream part of culture now, and additionally they're part of the NBA culture. I know there's rookies that come into the league that are like, got to get face scanned, got to go get my rating up, and then it's like they get their rating and they're a lot of them are mad and they want to play better. I think that's part of the NBA culture now. So
he is the host and producer of NBA 2KTV. We welcome Chris Manning back onto Hoopsology. How's it going, Chris?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing really well. Thanks for coming back onto the show. And man, what a difference I think almost over a year makes the last time we talked to you.
Life's a little different. Yeah.
It
been a roller coaster of a couple years for me, but I'm excited to be back. I was excited when you guys reached out.
For sure. So just like, can I get a status report on yourself before we kind of hop into the game? How have you been, like, just from the last time we talked to you, and just what have you been up to just besides this, obviously, the new launch of NBA 2K23, but just like status report on yourself.
Yeah. So last year I underwent a pancreas and kidney transplant. Life-changing surgery. I had a ton of complications. I ended up in the hospital for like 3 months and actually came out with some nerve injuries. So I couldn't walk. I couldn't raise my left arm. A lot of complications, but I'm doing well, healthy. I'm here, getting stronger, still rehabbing all those injuries. And just appreciative to be alive, number one, and to be here every single day and healthy, and to have a functioning kidney and also a pancreas, which not a lot of people can actually get a dual transplant. Your health has to basically align with the stars. So I feel like given that opportunity, it was worth it, with my health situation to wait out as opposed to getting a kidney from a living donor. And it's crazy because currently I'm not really diabetic anymore. So life's definitely been a huge adjustment in a positive way. And I'm going to try to keep these organs as healthy as possible. So I'm doing well on the health front. And then of course, NBA 2K23 is out. I'm not in the hospital during a release like last year. So that's good. And it's been a wild roller coaster just with 2K23.
Well, that's awesome news, Chris.
Yeah, so glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. I want to kind of get your perspective since the last time we talked to you, just about the culture of 2K, just from the pandemic. Everybody's staying home. There's no way of really going out. There's really nothing to do but, play video games. How has the culture grown since that period to now that everybody's, at least for the most part, back out and about, and at least able to do a lot more things compared to when the pandemic first started? Have you seen the community grow in a way that it hasn't grown since before the pandemic? Like, what were your observations just in terms of this new players finding NBA 2K for the first time, just that community growing since then?
Yeah, well, I think, in terms of video games, they did really well during the pandemic, just because people were at home and playing and stuff. And then I think with what like Constant and Mitch's team and Ronnie have done with the community side of creating the Next Makers program on the 2K side, 2KTV, we're all about community. I probably said it a year ago last time we talked, but the difference of making the community the stars of the show as opposed to like it being the Chris Manning show or Alexis Morgan show, that's what we really wanted to do. And I think we're achieving that in spades. So I have seen the community grow through all these programs, bringing in so many different people that play the game. We just on episode 3 that's currently out now, or excuse me, episode 2, working on episode 3 right now. Episode 2 that's out right now on 2KTV, and you can go back and watch previous episodes by the time this airs, if episode 3 is out. We actually talked to a ton of international content creators. So people from the UK, people from New Zealand, all over the globe. So to see that kind of support that 2K's given to the community is really great. Cause I literally remember starting, and I have a joke with Chris Smoove back in the day when we first did a community thing. Like, I think I had to send him home on a red flight because that was my budget. So like now it's like a lot different, obviously, with the resources they put into it. And then just for, people, just being able to connect with fans and people who are passionate about 2K through 2KTV has been really, really fun. And it's also just led to some like really great moments. I remember last season, I hopped into a random Xbox party, which can be dangerous to do sometimes, when people know you. But these guys were really cool, and they invited me to come play some Pro-Am with them. And I thought they were friends because they were just, kind of riffing back and forth and talking trash. But it was a father and son that play together every night, and they live in different states, and that's how they bond. They get on with their boys, and they play rec and pro-am, and I thought that was so cool. So we got him on for Father's Day, and just little things like that, I think, are really rewarding to me when it comes to connecting with people in general, and then also connecting with the 2K community, because so many people are passionate about 2K. And I'm still like a super fan. People don't really believe me when I say that, but even though I've spent so many years at the company, I'm probably the biggest fan. I'm in the dev ears just like anybody else. Giving feedback and pitching ideas and stuff. So it's just really it's a blessing to be here and to be able to connect with people and hear their stories and make them give them a platform to be able to build on whatever it is that they're doing, even for a moment. If it's just, wow, you accomplished this, the 2KTV awards and such. It's just really cool to do that and connect with people that way.
One thing that's huge, of course, that I think has multiplied since the pandemic hit is content creation.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the 2K community, how has that grown? Are there individual content creators that are like making a living purely off of their gaming channels for NBA 2K? How is that looking nowadays? Because I know, of course, gaming in itself on YouTube and in other platforms, Twitch, is really profitable nowadays for some folks. Is that the same case for 2K?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you look at just simple things like creating a My Player build, right? That is just a whole like nano section of content, right? What's the best build? Well, you have guards, you have forwards, you have centers, you have hybrid builds, right? Like, what is it that I want to create, and what's going to give me the best chance at winning? You can approach the game so many different ways just through building a My Player. That's a whole subsection of content. Some of the videos have gotten 1 million+ views that I've seen from bigger content creators. And then people are finding out like stuff that we've hidden in the game. Like we've created secret builds, like a Kobe Bryant build or a Michael Jordan build. You have to name your My Player, Kobe Bryant, put him number 24, like things like that. People have found these Easter eggs, and it's like, we're only like 2 days in and people are finding this stuff out. So I think the sense of discovery and just being able to share that knowledge with people, it's just a really kind of attractive type of content. And then you have all the modes. There's the Jordan challenges, which I'm currently playing through, and just seeing all that is like the best mode to me as a basketball fan. You have My League or My NBA now, with like the My League stuff and the My GM stuff. You can go, do all that. Now we have historical periods with the different eras, the 80s, the Bulls, the early 2000s, and the current era. So it's like you can go back and change the way draft classes happen. Maybe Jordan didn't get drafted to the Bulls. What happens with NBA history? You can find out in our game. There's just so much to our game, so many modes. I could sit here and probably talk for 45 minutes about it. But in terms of content creators, yeah, I think a lot of people are connecting as basketball grows. I think 2K is a big part of that culture. And for content creators, there's so many talented people that are able to express themselves, whether it's live streaming or creating videos or TikToks even. There's a big TikTok 2K section now. It's just, I think with the growth of social media and the growth of basketball, 2K has been such a great platform for these content creators to express themselves creatively in various ways that I think is pretty cool to see. But yeah, there's so much content around, our game. And I think that's it's a testament to how great the devs do. And it's also a testament to how talented and truly remarkable some of these content creators are. I mean, I'm an old man, I'm in my mid-30s. I tried to stay up and play all weekend when the game came out and was going to bed at 3, and that didn't work out too well for me. And there's dudes streaming for like 72 hours straight. So power to, a lot of women creators are also being able to now work through the Next Maker program. So I think for content creators that are aspiring, that are looking up to the bigger ones, it's not just about the big ones. It's about the people that want to make this their living and want to work with 2K as a company and be a part of some stuff that we can do. We had a bunch of content creators in before the game, for example, came out, and they were given feedback to the dev team. Then we had a separate community event where they got to capture their own footage and go out with it, under embargoes, obviously, but they got to go out with the footage just days before the game came out. So we gave the content creators the ability to grab their own footage and talk about the game pre-launch. And I just think being able to work with a company like 2K and 2K giving back to content creators and working together to help create content around the game is just such a special thing. So shout out to the marketing team and the influencer team Constant and Mitch and those guys, they do a really great job. And I'm in constant contact with them just because with 2KTV also, it's great bringing some of these people on to be able to talk about that. But yeah, I love community, as you guys know. So to just see it grow, it's surprising in a lot of ways, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? Like, I think it surprises people, but to me, it's just like, it's a platform, and what people, some people have made it their careers. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, I'm doing the wrong stuff, aren't I? I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I should try this YouTube thing out. There's a lot of talented people out there for sure.
Man, Chris, you talk about being in your mid 30s. That's about where Justin and I are as well.
Yeah.
And I think about N64 releasing and how big of a deal that was back in the day. And it's fascinating now and I almost have this feeling of envy, this symbiotic relationship that these content creators have with like the game developers, the games that they love, those types of things. And it almost it acts as great marketing for NBA 2K. I mean, it's smart for that relationship to be symbiotic like that.
For sure.
Do you see there being, down the road, any sort of like cap or limitation to, I guess, just content creation for games in general, not necessarily just 2K in itself? These content creators are so creative with what they're doing, but is there a limit to how many people can, make a living off of this?
I think so. I think the people that have evolved as content creators, I think the ones that can evolve themselves alongside their content, I think there's always like niche content, right? Like if you're gonna go, I enjoy Disney games in my off time. I'm a big Disney fan, right? My wife and I are huge Disney fans, right? I like playing some of the Disney games. There's only such an audience for that when it comes to like the gaming space. There's a racing fan niche, right? Like maybe you're into racing games. Like my buddy that we play 2K all the time, he loves playing F1 Manager. Like he's on that 24/7, right? But then he'll come on NBA and he'll have like a 502 record online head to head. He's just ridiculously talented at the game. So I think you have to evolve your content outside of your niche. And I think the people that are successful on YouTube and successful content creators over time have evolved themselves. And also, just being, I think when you can brand yourself in a smart, intelligent way and also work with different companies, I think that's advantageous for your own brand and yourself in terms of growing your audience. So, there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of things that people have success overnight that we can't really explain, but it's been really cool to see just like gaming content creators in general. It's fun to watch. Like I actually, when I was getting a haircut today and I was talking to the stylist, and he used to play PUBG professionally. So we had like a nice little conversation, and he was telling me he tried the streaming thing out, and like came back to doing other things. But he's kind of my age, so he's like mid 30s, and it was interesting just hearing different views on like anybody can pick up and stream and talk about things or create content. I just think it's so accessible. We live in an era where like the kids are literally born with an iPhone in their hand or iPad in their hand. So the accessibility is really remarkable. I remember putting out Laker videos, for example, before YouTube, pre-YouTube. And I was getting in trouble because I was like breaking server limits and all this stuff. And I was trying to get billed on this because people would want to host them, but too many people would download them. That's how old I am. So it's like, it's crazy how easy it is to get your content out there, to build an audience and to build a brand. And I think to evolve yourself, that's obviously going to change from person to person. But I've seen it makes me happy when I've seen people who started off with 2K, for example, grow into this thing that maybe they didn't foresee beyond 2K. Like I'm happy for people. I want people to eat. I want people to be successful. And if we can help, launch them on a platform through our game and they have a passion for that, that's great. Like everybody, there's people out there. I could go down a whole list, that aspire to do this. And I think on the flip side of it, it is a lot of work, and you have to really commit yourself. And it's something I admire about content creators in general across gaming, because there's some really fantastic ones. Like I like anybody else, I subscribe to YouTube content creators. I have my favorites, and I'm on there like, oh, learn that about that game, interesting. So same thing goes with our game.
So, Chris, you touched on the Jordan Challenge mode, and for this year's NBA 2K23, and this is something that is very similar to NBA 2K11. And I remember buying that game. I remember even going over Matt's house and playing it.
Nice.
Just
That's right.
the memories that it was like a playing like a going back in time, like a time machine, basically.
Yes.
Just remembering NBA 2K11. My question to you, it's just when that mode came out back then compared to the mode coming out now, what is the type of feedback that you're seeing in terms of kind of the younger fans? Because, you mentioned that we're all in our mid 30s. We all, remember the magic of Jordan. Like I think it's safely to say we're all members of the Church of Jordan at this point, just car carrier members and just remember all those moments. But for kind of the younger fans, they don't have that kind of connection to Jordan. And this game, I think, can bring him closer to that. What kind of feedback are you seeing? Are you seeing like, kind of younger fans change their minds in regards to like who their favorite player is just through playing this mode? Or kind of what are you seeing in terms of kind of transforming basketball culture from kind of a younger demographic, so to speak?
I think it's just a great way to relive history in such a visceral way. I don't think there's a lot of platforms that could do that. Like, sure, you have documentaries, but like reliving his career, and I'm blown away with what the team did. I've known for a long time since day one that we were doing the Jordan challenges, and I was like on cloud nine when I heard it because I remember 2K11 so vividly for two reasons. My dad sat down to watch the Jordan challenges, and he never cared to watch video games, and he sat down and he was like so intrigued by seeing like the 80s Lakers and oh wow, they have that team, and oh they have the Boston Celtics, and they have the Bulls and the Bad Boys of Detroit. And so walking down memory lane for a basketball fan is like a really special thing. I think just traditionally our culture is so nostalgic. And then when it comes to like great sports, I think a lot of people fell in love with basketball because of Michael Jordan. So to be able to hand that to a younger generation of fans, they'll learn a little something or two about, the greatest of all time when it comes to MJ. And, for me personally, just watching feedback, it's been fun to watch people relive these moments. And also for just generally with NBA 2K, as our franchise has done time and time again. A couple years ago, Mark Cuban said it best, like NBA 2K is kind of a way to educate younger fans about the history of the basketball and the history of basketball. And I think when you look at that with everything we do with obtaining as many players as we can have from the past and celebrating those players and making them play like themselves and giving them animations so they play like those players. It's such a cool thing to go down like this virtual basketball museum in various modes. And then the MJ challenges. I mean, one of my favorite things is the testimonials that we have from different people: Dennis Rodman, Jeannie Buss, Shaquille O'Neal, Ron Harper. Hearing these stories of people that played with or against Jordan, and hearing these like intros to each game, those testimonials. There's about a 30 to 45 second video that'll play that'll kind of give you the background of somebody talking about that particular moment that you're about to do, and it's so cool. Like, just you get that insight. You go to the game. The team, the audio in the mode. I don't know if you guys have sat down and jumped in, but the audio team went in and brought old broadcasters back. The presentation looks just like the presentation of the early 80s and the late 80s and the 90s. Everything, like, there was no stone unturned when it came to details. And that's something I think that is really a testament to our development team. When they jump into projects, I think they don't try to cut corners with anything, especially with something like MJ. Like, you're kind of handling the holy grail, you know what I mean? Like, no one can fumble this thing and break it, So it's been really cool to see people talking about the Jordan mode and enjoying it. And I mean, I don't even know how to put it, man. Shit, it's the coolest thing to me personally as a fan of basketball in 2K. Like, I love the Jordan mode. It's just incredible.
And I think what 2K has done has been, I love how this brought, that mode into other games. I'm a big wrestling fan, so even with the last edition of WWE with Rey Mysterio, like it's kind of the same exact thing. For people that don't know Lucha Libre, I think it was awesome just playing through all his career memories. Same thing you mentioned, the video clips, exact same thing that happened with Rey Mysterio's career. It was really cool just to see that as well. I think it's awesome just to see that concept. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So
I am too. And like I said, there's not too many platforms where you can go and do that kind of stuff. So, like last night I just hit, the 6 threes in the first half against Portland. I got the shrug.
Nice.
And I was
Yep.
literally taking pictures, in photo mode. And it's like, I knew that was there. I knew it was coming. I knew about it for a long time, but to sit down and actually like play through it, in your own free time is just it's a special feeling. And I think it's really cool how we tied in like special My Player rewards. So you get all 3 stars on each challenge, and you'll earn yourself like a gold Jordan chain and the jersey and a My Team. I think it's a coaching card for Jordan. And it's like cool to also reward people who sit down and invest the time to play it that are hardcore 2K players in various modes to kind of get rewards for it. So I think it's just it's a great trip down memory lane, and to me it's the greatest mode in all of sports. And I know that's going to sound biased, but to me it's such a crazy concept to me that we have these variations of Jordan. Like, and if you don't believe me, the first game when he's in UCLA, we have the college moment, right? The shot from college, UNC rather, not UCLA, UNC. It's so crazy to just see the presentation and the way the crowd reacts and seeing that college environment. And you feel like you're there, it's like almost like a time machine. So it's a special mode for sure. And I'm really proud of the team for what they accomplished with 23.
Have to also go back to what you said about the testimonials. And I get the sense that, there's a certain age we all get to where we get to that sort of crotchety back in my day type of feeling. And I think, and I'm not exempt from that. I'm getting there too. But I think 10 years ago, we may have had much more reluctance for players to do something like that for a video game. Do you get the sense that, with Dennis Rodman and others who were interviewed, there's more of like a respect now, I guess, for gaming culture and the mass appeal of gaming and that medium?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things at play that I've learned over the years. I once had an active player hit me up about something in a DM, and I'm like, "There's no way this is real." And then I checked, like this was way back when I first started. I'm like, "Is this?" And he was on. I'll give you a hint. He was on a winning Boston Celtics team in 2008. So I was like, this dude plays. And then I was like, all right. So, it was cool. And then what I've learned over the years is that a lot of these retired players now have kids that are teenagers or entering college, and their kids play 2K. It's like, Dad, you need to get in the game, right? We've had people contact us just because their kids wanted them in the game. They're like, they got to get this right. You got to do more. So there's just like this, I think there's, and it's also weird. I specifically remember being at like Summer League a few years ago, because I haven't been able to go the last few years with my health issues. But I remember being at Summer League a few years ago, pre-COVID, and it was really surreal to talk to these young players coming into the league who I'm excited to watch and talk to and talk 2K with and chop it up. And they're like, yeah, we've been watching 2KTV for, since it started. And I used to watch your streams with Ronnie and on the community side. That was weird to me, I'm like, wow, man, that's weird, because I'm like so excited to meet this person and talk to them and get their thoughts on 2K. And here it is, like, it's just it's very different, because I think video games are kind of a mainstream part of culture now. And additionally, they're part of the NBA culture. I know there's rookies that come into the league that are like, got to get face scan, got to go get my rating up. And then it's like they get their rating and they're, a lot of them are mad and they want to play better. I think that's part of the NBA culture now. So to see all that, I think there's a lot of different factors at play why people are interested. And then just, you're recreating Jordan's greatest moments. Like, you were a part of that. That's such like an elite class of people that can come in and talk about those things. There's not many. It's just great to get that insight, and I was a part of those interviews as we were doing them over the summer and stuff. And it was just, I remember specifically putting my mic on mute and just listening. And I remember just sitting there thinking, like, somebody pinched me. Like, I get to hear these stories about Michael Jordan, and I just, you know what I mean? And the greatest thing too is, as you can see right now in our episode, we talked to Shaq. You'll see extended versions of those interviews in 2KTV all season long. So we're going to have a lot of content that's coming to 2KTV. That'll be really, really great stuff. More than what you see in the game for those little vignettes that intro you to each moment. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
wanted to ask you, Chris, the game's been out for just a short time, but for those who have not picked it up yet, what is kind of the feature that is kind of underrated, that's kind of flying under the radar, but I think people should check out? Like, it's something that guaranteed that's just gonna, like, they'll get a kick out of it by just playing the game.
So I'm having trouble juggling the modes, right? But I think the one mode, obviously the Jordan challenges that, enough said, right?
Yeah.
But I think the mode that is going to really intrigue a lot of people is what we've done with My NBA. So we brought these eras out. And essentially what you can go do is play a year before the best draft classes in NBA history. So you played the 2002 season and then 2003 draft classes there. Are Kobe and Shaq going to break up? Lakers going to go try to draft LeBron James? Like, you have control of that draft class and to redirect the course of history. So we take it during these different eras where Magic and the Lakers during the 80s, they were on fire. Then Jordan comes in, the Bulls era, right? Then we have the Kobe era, right? The early 2000s. How does that play out? What happens with Shaq and Kobe? Like I said, like, that's all stuff that you can now rewrite NBA history, and all the presentation during those eras are era specific, just like the Jordan challenges. So you'll see like the old ESPN-esque scoreboards when you're playing in the early 2000 games. You'll see the regular typography and the fonts that were used during like the 80s and the 90s. So you really feel like you're playing in that era, and you can rewrite history for the first time based on this, these new features that we have. And I just think that's such an amazing thing to go do, because even if you're a current fan of LeBron James and you believe he's the greatest player of all time, and you're a young fan, go back and put him on a different team. What happens if he didn't get drafted by Cleveland? What happens if, the what if, right? It's the ultimate what if scenario. So I think that's a really great mode for people that are new to the game, that maybe don't want to go into head-to-head competition against, very good players online. It's fantastic. And I've been really trying to keep Shaq and Kobe together and also get LeBron, but I don't know how that's going to happen. I'm gonna do my best. I promise, Laker fans, I'm gonna do my best.
That also adds just such another layer of replayability to an already extremely fun game.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to go into those different eras.
It's so cool. I mean, it's like it's so great learning about the stuff we're doing, because it's gone. I mean, we're not only having the base NBA experience, but now you can enter the NBA through your My Player and go through my career and interact with this whole entire city now of people wanting requests and doing quests. You feel like you get to live the NBA experience. You can avoid all that and just go play now head to head. If you just want the traditional head to head experience, you can team up with friends. We have My Team, the fantasy mode, where you can relive great players through the history of the NBA and mix and match teams how you want. Build and customize your own team. The My NBA stuff, like I mentioned, is just like all the era specific stuff. That's been received really well, like pre-launch, and it's been cool to watch the content that's coming out of that. You talk about content, you could just sit all year and rewrite NBA history and make decisions differently, and there you go, So I think just giving the fans options in so many modes that are so deep. I joke a lot of the time, but it's like I'm literally playing every second, that I'm not working. I'm on there doing the Jordan challenges or playing rec with my friends, and it's like there's just so much to do. So I think it's cool to reward people that are fans of our franchise, but then also the new generation of fans, and also veteran players. There's something for everybody, and I love that we don't take a backseat to one mode to focus on like one big mode. It's like everything gets the love, and I think this year our team did an incredible job of really giving everything, just taking it up a notch.
Well, Chris, we appreciate your time just chatting about NBA 2K23. Make sure you go pick it up. It's available, I think, for every single video game console, including PC. That's where I got the last year's version. I bought it on Steam. So it's always just a great time. Please go check it out. Chris, let our fans and listeners know where they can find you on social media and any other projects that you're working on as well.
Yeah, so you can catch me at LD2K on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. I have an Instagram, but I don't really like taking photos. I know it's kind of weird. But at LD2K on Twitter, love chopping it up with people about NBA, 2K, all that stuff. And you can also see myself and Alexis in 2KTV. We drop episodes every week at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We have tons of 2K content, top plays, highlight reels, interviews, exclusive interviews, so much content that is in a weekly cadence for our fans. So we're working really hard to make this season the best one yet. So I will see you on the game.